All right, here we go. And we're live. How you doing, brother?
Hey, pretty good, man. I know it's been pretty busy the last couple of days for us. We actually finished up making some content this morning, put out some stuff yesterday, a couple of videos, if you haven't caught those yet. One kind of going through one like item by line, kind of going through Coach Sarkisian's staff. And then the other one we put out is kind of resetting the 2021 class. We finished up one this morning that we'll put out probably beginning to the middle of next week. It's on PK's 2-4-5 defense. You get an idea, somebody was kind of worried, sent us a comment last night. They were kind of worried about, his run game, as far as running that, the 2 down linemen, 4 linebackers and 5 defensive backs. If you go and watch Washington, really 2016 season, but if you go watch that Stanford game against McCaffrey, that'll give you an idea on how he can stop the run and stop the pass. And then really just get ready for these 2 championship games, man. Who you got in championship games, man, today?
So I'm rooting with my heart and not with my head. In the AFC Championship, I really, really want Buffalo to find their way back to the Super Bowl. After many years of playing the bridesmaids of the NFC East in the early 90s. Really respect Josh Allen, really respect their fan base, they're rowdy. Would really like to see them represent the AFC. And then as a Cowboys fan, you really don't cheer for Tom Brady and or Aaron Rodgers. But if I had to make a pick on the game with my head, I'm going to go with the guys at the Lambeau, Green Bay and Buffalo Super Bowl with my heart. Green Bay, Kansas City Super Bowl with my head. That's what I got.
Yeah, I don't think I can disagree with you much. I think up in Lambeau, I think Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers is probably going to be difficult to beat. But if somebody can beat him, it's Tom Brady, I think. But I'm going to go Green Bay. And I'm like you, man. You would hope Buffalo would be able to pull one out. But obviously, Mahomes, if he's 100%, it's difficult to beat. So definitely got to go with definitely going with Kansas City, but I'm kind of with you. Root for the underdog. Hopefully I would like to see Buffalo win the entire thing. So out of the 4 teams that are currently there. Hey, how about this? I think. And by the way, I'm gonna call out Queen Bee here in the comments. She said last time she missed our live, wave an orange flag next time we start a live. So I sent her a DM on Twitter, and so she's joined us today. But we appreciate each and every one of you joining us on this Sunday morning. We figured we'd start early at about 12 o'clock before you obviously those games starting. But what do you think about that Bijan Robinson video that came out from Texas football yesterday, man?
Heisman candidacy and their campaigns start really, really early. The guy up north, RJ Young, put him on his list. You talked about ESPN putting him on their list, the way too early list. Texas needs to, and they understand how good he probably could have been and how high he could have went in this past Heisman race had we utilized him at the rate of a Chuba Hubbard, of a rate of a Breece Hall, of the rate of a Najee Harris. Somebody showed, I think it was Najee Harris, Bijan Robinson, and I'm not sure I don't remember who the third running back. It may have been Breece Hall. Their numbers side by side, and the amount of yards per carry that Bijan had versus Najee and the other guy was, I think it was 8.3 to 5.3 or something in that area. Who was the third guy?
Spiller. It was Spiller from Texas A&M, because it was actually a Texas A&M fan that was trying to say that I don't know what all the hype's about. The actual leading rusher in the state of Texas is not Bijan Robinson. It's actually Isaiah Spiller out of Texas A&M. And then they were trying to say that he had more yards. He had more yards, but then he had damn near twice the amount of carries that Bijan had, and I think his and it's nothing to sneeze at. I think he was at about 5.5 yards per carry, right, which is good. And then you have Bijan out there at like 8.9 or something. But yeah, it was kind of flowing through Twitter yesterday. I'd seen it, and I was like, you start thinking, yeah, man, should you like retweet with comments with these things? And it's like, yeah, some of these people, they just, I don't want to use the choice of words that I would like to choose, but sometimes it's like, yeah, it's not even worth it. because of the stuff that they put out. But
it just takes a little bit more analysis, right? So we understand that 10 is a higher number than 7, but how did you get to 10? How did you get to 7? You know what I mean? It just takes a little bit more analysis to understand that what may look decent on the surface or different on the surface may not be as you delve into the statistics. Please hit that like button. There's 42 guys in here, only 16 likes. Would love for you guys to hit that like button. Again, we've been putting out content. We put out 2 videos yesterday. Clint talked about detailing Sark's coaching staff from top to bottom. And we also kind of wrapped up what we think may be a couple of offers the last couple of offers for high schoolers in this 2021 class, and how the needs in depth for the current roster and where they might look in the transfer portal or grad transfers to fill those 8 remaining spots. So if you haven't checked out those videos we produced yesterday, please check those out. Like Clint said, we got a couple more that are coming out. The 245 video, and then Commitment Corner on Monty Winfield is in the shoot. So just trying to put out more content, more tape content. The producer pretty much had 4 months off of not having to put our logos and all that cool stuff before or after our videos, but she's excited to get back after it. And a lot of our newer subscribers haven't seen a lot of our tape content, so it's good to put that stuff out there.
Yeah, I think we're trying to get in a habit of being able to be on a schedule. I think that's the biggest piece of it is putting content out, but also going back to our regular schedule of really probably a Tuesday live. I think Tuesdays really work well for me and Jeremy, and then a Sunday scatter shoot in between that, and then between really Monday or really Saturday, put out some really tape content, and then really going forward on those days that we're not doing a live, have some kind of content, because there should be because of the changeover in staff, and because your spring's going to look a little different. The competitions will start. There'll be a lot of really what we consider, what do we call the titles of those really the ones for the competition? We call them
position battle series.
Yeah, it's called position battle series, and we'll go through each position from X to Y to Z to linebacker, to lead the defensive line and offensive line, to kind of give you an idea of who we think is going to be in the 2 deep at the end of the fall. And then we'll kind of go back and look at our position battles versus who's actually on the 2 deep. But I think with this football team going forward, I think the term to learn is really positionless football, meaning that they're going to put the best players on the field that give us the best chance to win. I don't think it's going to be, especially when it comes to the wide receiver core, you're talking about X, Y's, and Z's. You're not going to see the prototypical X. You're not going to see the prototypical Y. I don't think you're going to see the prototypical Z. And you can go back and look at how Alabama used 6 this year, who would be considered an X on the Texas Longhorn football team, and he's sitting here at about 6 foot, 175, 180 pounds. So just realize positionless football, I think, is just the way it's going to go with this team moving forward. Hey, Johnny Munoz said 1,720 subscribers. Congratulations. Yeah, it's been increasing by the day, and we appreciate it. What it means to us is that our content is somewhat fathomable, I guess. That it's digestible at this particular point. It's funny, we read the comments sometimes. Somebody said, and me and Jeremy, I can tell you now, I think I don't know if it's the way we were raised or just being, our drawl, or being from Texas, whatever the case may be. But someone put out there yesterday, and it doesn't hurt my feelings. It's like great content sponsored by Adderall. So it's just who we are. We're going to speak fast. Usually when you get excited about content, you speak fast.
Right.
So we'll try to kind of slow that down a little bit. And I think that comes with practice over time, and so on and so forth.
Right. So we're not polished journalists, like Clint said. And yeah, it made me laugh. I was the guy that went back just a little bit. How's this having anything to do with football? But I think me and Clint are both, like you said, when you grew up like we did, you kind of have to, if you have something on the tip of your tongue, you got to spit it out really, really quickly. If you know something, because you may forget it. And that's a lot of times because sometimes I'll have a piece of paper and I'll write notes as the show goes on to counterpoint or to bring up something or to hit on something that Clinton may or may not have talked about or to substantiate it. But yeah, so basically he said we turned what would be an hour-long show into a 40-minute show. But we appreciate his viewership, and he was just being real. So we do appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. So Zachary Delgado is talking about Longhorns record next year. I would probably guess that we're probably going to do a season,
Preview, late summer.
preview, probably late summer when it gets closer to the fall. Really don't want to guess on what our record is going to be next year. Want to look at kind of let everything finish out. Spring makes a big deal. Summer going into summer makes a big deal. You lose people to injury and so on and so forth. Do other teams lose people to injury? Do they have opt-outs? Or, obviously you hope that they've kind of, COVID is still here, but you kind of hope you get past that. They've learned enough about COVID to be able to keep these kids safe moving forward. But go ahead, Jeremy. You want to add something?
No, Clint. No. Yeah, just last year we had to do two. We did one with a full season slate where we had the non-conference games, and then subsequently came back, and of course those games got canceled, so we did two, both the season preview with non-conference and without. And so I think here in January, it's a little bit premature for us to throw any predictions, not knowing who the quarterback's going to be. Like Clint said, not knowing who's going to come out of summer camp healthy, not seeing what we look like in the spring game. But the roster's there, the talent's there, the coaching staff is there. They just all got a sync meld, and I feel really good about the upcoming season. I don't think we're going to, again, we said it's a reloading, it's not a rebuilding. And I think the coaches believe that. They said that. I think we feel the same way. The talent's there on the 40 acres. We got to sync them with the new coaching staff and get after it. We'll see where it goes.
So talking about, Henry Gatlin brings up what do y'all think about Gideon not being the special teams coach? He had Matt Stats last year. The good thing about this actual coaching staff is that Banks is probably the best special teams coordinator over multiple seasons in college football. And then you have an individual like Gideon, and then believe it or not, Choate, the new co-defensive coordinator, inside linebackers coach, was also a special teams coordinator at a particular point in his time as well. So I don't think that third phase of the game is definitely well taken care of at this particular point on the 40 acres, right. Which is really good. And I think they'll all have some input into they may dice it out a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Hey, you take care of the punt coverage, you take care of kickoff coverage, or whatever the case may be, and kind of dice it out between those two coaches and let them do what they do. I'm okay with that, but that third phase of the game is important. And it's crazy because if you look at Alabama over the last couple of years, prior to Banks getting there, their special teams was terrible. They'd go out there and win a national championship and not make it they wouldn't make a field goal the entire year, miss extra points. Kind of like me playing NCAA 2010 a while ago, by the way. It's funny. I called Jeremy this morning and I was like, yeah, I'm playing NCAA 2010 PS3. I was like, let me start this season. So I've been out there recruiting and doing those things. And it's crazy. I can score, but the problem is I can't kick field goals or hit extra points. So, and a while ago I was playing Texas Tech and I was called Jeremy. I was like, man, I don't know how to stop this air raid. So I decided to go ahead and just start blitzing from everywhere and run some kind of 3-3-5 to see if it worked. And I got lucky and beat them, I think 28-24 in Lubbock. But go ahead, Jeremy.
Congratulations on your road win against the Red Raiders. But
appreciate it.
Yeah, so going back to special teams though, I do to think that Choate and Gideon aren't going to be a part of the special teams game plan. I think Banks, like you said, will bring them in. I don't know if they'll own a specific facet of it. Like you got kickoff return, you have the punt team, but definitely if they bring ideas to Jeff Banks, I don't see him not listening. I see him, whatever ideas that Gideon and Choate can bring to him to sit down and look and see if it can help the football team. It helps the football team. Again, I see him put it into action.
So they're asking us about obviously LJ Johnson and Wheaton. I think Wheaton's kind of at this particular point. I think he's really. I don't think he's listening to Texas very much anymore. I think that's if he leaves Alabama, he's probably going to go to Oklahoma. They obviously are sitting in a situation, in a situation where their running back doesn't have the depth that ours does from a talent base. But I think right now, if you would ask me about Johnson last week, I would have probably had it at 70-30, team out east. Currently, I would have it probably 55-45. Good guys, man, landing him on the 40 acres. And I say that because he's taken a visit to A&M. And if he felt comfortable about being at A&M, I think he would have already committed to A&M. I think he wants to have an opportunity to go to I think he wants to have an opportunity to see Texas. I think he wants to have an opportunity. I think his heart is at Texas. I think, but I think part of his mind with the running back depth that they currently have at Texas A&M, I think he sees himself there. So I think he's kind of pulled right now, but I'd put 55, 45. If I had a crystal ball, I'd put it probably at a 6 for Texas and in a 4 for A&M. Go ahead.
Yeah, going back to Wheaton, the article I read said he was tired of the process. He didn't really like the recruiting process.
Yep.
And so when he got a chance to commit, and once he committed to Alabama, he, like you said, he really turned his phone off and is ready just to, I guess, focus on being a college football player, because he never really liked the recruiting process to begin with. And then, like you talked about, LJ Johnson. We have notes. We've watched film. There is a commitment corner schedule up here. It just, like you said, I think if he wanted to go to A&M at this point, he probably would have already signed with them. But again, we don't know. Kids make decisions on a daily basis, on an hourly basis, where they want to play football, and we'll never understand why they make those decisions, because they're personal. They're a familial decision that they talk to their family, they talk to their advisors, they talk, and just feel comfortable going somewhere and then land there. But yeah, the notes are there. The film study's there for if he was to come to Texas. We'll be ready to do a commitment corner on LJ Johnson for sure.
Yeah. So they're talking about that whole strengthening. It's what is he? What's his title? Football performance director.
Yeah, director of football player performance.
Yeah, and I think. And somebody said it best on here. He is a speed coach. He started off as a track, I think really a track guy at, I want to say Baylor. I think he was an assistant strength and conditioning coordinator or something at one of these schools that he had previously been at. But his focus isn't on speed. And I think that again, we've talked about this numerous times. I think where we went wrong before is we tried to look the part before the game. But the problem is you look in the part before the game, meaning that these guys come out of the tunnel, one's on this side of the 50-yard line, you're on this other side of the 50-yard line, and you're trying to intimidate the other team by the way that you look when you come out. I think what we did is, unfortunately, really put too much probably on trying to bulk up the guys we didn't need to. And that is your skill position guys, man, the speed guys that it's okay if you have and we seen last year, look at the guy that won the Heisman Trophy last year. It's okay to be, 6 foot,
lean,
185 lean, and put him next to somebody else. It's funny because you put him next to their running back there, and he's really, really small, but, and there was some memes going around about it, but again, I think that speed part is what we're missing from our skill players. It goes back to, are we excited about Jordan Whittington? Absolutely excited about Jordan Whittington, but it comes down to this positionless football. So Jordan Whittington can probably line up in the running back slot. He could probably line up an X, a Z, or a Y, and you could probably have Jake Smith, Jordan Whittington, Bijan Robinson, and Troy O'Meara on the field all at the same time with the Wiley at tight end, and then pick your
Josh Moore. Yeah, it just
keeps, you're going to get the ball to. Yeah, so it keeps going on and on and on and on. But absolutely excited about this offense. Really excited about the defense as well. I know Chris Ash left this defense off in a good spot at the end of this last year. Hopefully they can remember those fundamentals through the spring and remember those fundamentals through the summer and continue to work on, the techniques, fundamentals of tackling. But absolutely excited, man. Go ahead.
But yeah, going back to 6, talking about Devontae Smith and Joshua Moore, they kind of have the same body type. So after the game, all Texas fans were like, hey, could Josh Moore be Devontae Smith? And Josh Moore came back and said, I'm my own guy, number one. But yeah, that's where that comparison comes from. Their body types are very similar. But yeah, did the previous offensive coaching staff use him probably the best way? Probably not, because there was a whole lot of 50-50 balls downfield that were thrown to a guy that was a little bit leaner than the secondary, or not to say that he just doesn't have the same body type as a Brennan Eagles or Troy O'Meara. So, get him in the slot, working like similar to Devontae Smith did. Set him in motion, get him out ahead, get the ball to him quickly, and let him do his thing. But yeah, somebody texted us or sent us a note last night about having Whittington and Smith on the field at the same time. Again, we talked about that. But injuries. These guys were they only really had a chance to get on the field at the same time 2 or 3 football games, because one would be injured, he would come back, the other would get injured. So that's going to be important and that comes back to strength and conditioning as well. To how are you training your athletes? Are you overusing their muscles? Are you, especially in a COVID season, like we knew that guys weren't getting in the weight room because they couldn't have the capacity. So 12 guys would go in the weight room when normally it'd be 50 guys, and then they would circle and cycle through. What kind of conditioning were they really getting pre-COVID? So, and again, that's another thing that's not out of the woodwork just yet. Is the whole what do we look like in the pandemic here in spring and summer and installing this offense and defense? But just things to think about.
And Charles brings up Josh Moore, probably the fastest guy on the offense, but sometimes for some reason it didn't seem like it. It didn't seem like he was the fastest guy on offense.
Because you didn't utilize him that way.
And if I was to say the fastest person that I've seen currently right now on the opposite side of the ball, it's probably going to be Moochie, probably Dixon would seem, because every time you see him and he's flashing, he's wide open, man, for the big plays. So that's who I seen last year is probably the fastest person on that offense. But again, it's how they're utilized, how you're allowing them to and what you'll see now is it's going to be a lot of motion. So they're not getting that contact off the line. And if you're not getting that contact off the line, it allows you to get space between you and the defender in the defensive backfield. So I think the speed is there. And somebody said he needs to get with the track team and work on that track speed. And that's maybe, I think that's something they need to do with all these skilled position guys.
And Chuck came back at you. Jake Smith is faster than Josh Moore. Jake Smith does not look fast in the games. He may run a faster 40, may run a faster 100, and he's very quick to switch. But when he gets the ball in his hands, I've not seen him run away from anybody. You know, when he gets the ball on those tunnel screens and gets a chance, I haven't seen him run away from anybody. Now, sometimes it may be blocking scheme like that that doesn't allow him to get moving at that top end speed. But that's what this coaching staff is when they're talking about running routes to space and running routes to open air. They need to take advantage of 7 and 6. And like you said, because four, he's big dude. Whittington's a big dude. Like he's more of a mauler than 7 and 6. But get them out in the open space and let them run. If 7's faster than 6, like I said, on the practice field, it doesn't show in the games that much.
It doesn't. It doesn't. It felt. I think these guys are fast. I think they're fast, but I think
there's no doubt.
I think it's separation. It's separation off the ball that creates space that allows them to get open in the field. Jordan Whittington has a problem with tripping over his own feet. He looks fast all the time, but he's too fast because the turf monster gets him. Like every time he gets out in space and you think he's going to be gone, then all of a sudden the turf pops up and shoestrings tackles him, you know. But I think these guys are fast, and I think you're going to be able to see them run routes, get space away from defenders, and allow themselves to get more yards after the catch. Because I think that's what we're currently missing from this wide receiver is yards after catch. Because it's either a 50-50 ball that they were throwing up in the air, or it was a tunnel screen and they're getting 5 to 7 yards, and then. But I think. Again, this offense is obviously going to be revolved around what obviously what number 5 does in the backfield. Defenses are going to be keying on that. So I think your wide receivers will have an opportunity to do big things this coming year.
Yeah, these guys are on the money. Sam came back wasn't Jake. Again, that's what we talked about leading up to that was, often injured in lower body. Is that a condition of the strength and conditioning program? Is that him? Not doing proper stretching, hydration, what leads to those lower body muscle injuries that don't allow him to be as fast as he is because he's battling a calf or a hamstring or this or that. And then same thing, like I said, Witt bulked up. Like, but remember when he came to campus as a freshman, they put him in the backfield initially. He was going to be a running back, and then they moved him out to the slot. So a lot of that bulk can be from that freshman year. Again, ran a 4.4 in high school. Again, running down the middle of the football field, and then game speed is different. And that's all I'm saying, Chuck. I'm not saying he's can't run a 4.4. We acknowledge that probably every wide receiver on the Texas roster is in that 4.4 to 4.5 range at the slowest. They're all fast. It's just is the coaching staff putting them in position during games to hit that top end speed, to get them open in open space, to be able to make those big plays, those big explosive plays that you look for. And last year, consistently, the only one that was really making explosive plays was 6, was Joshua Moore, and then Bijan Robinson out of the backfield.
And I agree with you, Charles, man. We only have one person dangerous after the catch or handoff, and that's Bijan. And you go back and look at that video yesterday, and we've seen all those plays where it's like he's one-on-one with the defender, and he literally makes no move at all, and the defender's falling over, and he's he's doing Bijan things. So I definitely agree with you there. John Davis asked a good question. Do you think Big 12 D coordinators mostly figured out Herman's power spread? How will Sark mix it up? What they did is they figured out that Tom Herman was going to run, pass, punt, run, pass, punt, run, pass, punt, run, pass, punt. And if they know you're going to run on first and second down, they're going to load the box. And then you put yourself in a really predictable position that you're going to have to pass the ball on third down. Now, what do you do? And then your third down percentage goes down. So that's what was predictable about Tom Herman in his power spread. With Sark, I don't think he has a problem running or passing on any down. And again, if you go back and watch really the Sark, there's a video on there. It's him going through his offense. He doesn't really, again, it comes down to players before plays and formations, and he doesn't mind taking other plays from other teams to put into the playbook to be successful if he knows it's going to work. He doesn't mind calling the same play over and over and over again. He's already said that. He's gonna call it until you stop it. So you may see 2 or 3 plays, the exact same play 2 or 3 times in a row. If they can't stop it, they can't stop it. Why not consistently do it? But I don't think you're going to see a run pass. Let me get in a shell. Let me become turtle and stop.
Let me pull my guys that are contributing and doing well. That's the piece for me. The predictability is one thing. But pulling like the Bijan Robinson off the field after he ran for 85 yards in the Alamo Bowl and not seeing him for 4 consecutive possessions, or when he was on the field not getting the football, well, I don't think you'll have to worry about that with Steve Sarkisian. We saw that. He was going to run Devontae Smith, Najee Harris into the ground in that national championship game in order for his team to win. And these kids know that. If you're my best players, you're going to get a chance to get the football. And when you get the football, you're going to make things happen. And that's why that organization wins, because they understand that. Get the ball to your best players, let your players do what they do, make plays.
Obviously Jaden Alexis, he's on the 40 acres now, early enrollee. That's a good thing for us because he is he's a burner out of Florida. What he reminds me of these Florida guys that Oklahoma gets on their wide receiver core, man, fast, get in space and burn.
Charles, I get it, man. We went to DeSoto High School. We understand what a 4.6, 4.5, and a 4.4 40. I never ran them, but I know what it looks like. Circa Byron Hansbard, circa Shady Mitchell, Snoop Mitchell. I know what 4.4 looks like. I never came close to running one, but yeah, definitely 4.6 is fast. 4.6 is pro. You know, Cooper Kupp ran a 4.89 coming out of Eastern Washington, got drafted. 4.79 and 4.89. So yeah, we've seen it. We can't perform it, can't do it, but we've definitely seen it on the football field, flying by me. Yeah. Or at least I have.
All right, Johnny Munoz said my high school coach told me the reason that I never pulled my hamstring is because I wasn't fast enough.
Me neither.
Then I heard something the other day said that, do you know that individual's going to be fast if they got a high butt? You ever heard that? Mm-hmm. They got a high butt. That's how you know individual's going to be fast. If you're looking at them on film and they got a high butt, like that high butt, that's how you know they're going to be fast because their hamstring's longer. Right?
I didn't forget about Deshaun Harrison. Yeah, 5'10", fast, coming out of huddle. We didn't forget about him, but again, he hasn't played it down at the University of Texas. So definitely haven't forgot about him. Know he's on the roster. Nobody could probably bring to the team. But yeah, we haven't forgot about him. Just again, he hasn't produced for the university, so we won't really talk about him I guess you could talk about him in the speed conversation, but as far as what he's brought to the team, as far as skins on the wall and that kind of stuff, we really can't say. High butt like a horse.
Yeah, it makes them faster. Yeah, high butt like a horse.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, you look at a guy when you're looking at film, and you really can't tell how fast they are. They have the potential to be really, really, really fast if they got a high butt like a horse. Heard that the other day. Somebody was talking about film. High school film and
press that like button. Got 92 guys in here, 39 likes. I don't have a high butt like a horse, not very fast. But again, like we said, that 4.4 to 4.6, 4.7 definitely get you drafted.
And Charles, how fast is Casey? Casey's fast enough to run away from defenders. And that's why I looked at it last year, man. Is do we need a quarterback that's going to try to run over you, or try to run around you at this particular point? And in college football, you need a quarterback. You need a quarterback that can throw the ball consistently well, 60, but really 60. I'd say somewhere about 65% completion percentage, and can run around you to create mismatches. Or get out of the pocket, look down the field, and now you put the defenders in a position where they need to come up or they need to go back, or what are they supposed to do? And then all of a sudden you look like Oklahoma got wide receivers running free across the field. Charles said, "Thank you, brother. Y'all spot on response to people in the comments." I know Harrison opted out. What's that?
Talking about Bo Davis bringing back the glory of defensive line with Rod Wright, Brian Robinson, Tim Crowder, Okafor, Ocho brothers, Frank Ocam, list goes on and on. I think he's got a good talent pool here to get started with when you're talking about Collins, Broughton, and of course Colbert, Sweat, Dimage. The guys, again, we got a 245 podcast coming out really, really soon. Want to put little bells and whistles on it as far as production, rather than just throwing it out there. So it may be a couple days before it comes out there. But we talk about what we see in the 245. We talk about what we see at that first level and how these guys are we think they're going to flourish because of their talent level, their ability to get off blocks, and they're fast, they're quick twitch. We do talk about a little bit about how, and this kind of talks about strength and conditioning, how, forgive me, Devondre Sweat and Keandre Coburn both came to last year's season 350 pounds apiece. We don't anticipate them coming into next year being that heavy, just by the track record of what UW and Coach K like to do with his defensive linemen. Again, they were good run stuffers at 348 pounds apiece, but really don't see them coming into next year being that big.
John Davis talked about Casey got creamed so many times in mop-up duty, then the Alamo Bowl happened. And again, that's what happens when you're not running with the ones. You're in there with and again, that's a sign of development. If your twos and your threes are not prepared to come out there and work at the same level that your ones are, it's lack of development. And that's a piece that we definitely, that this I feel really good about this staff because of their development. Again, we talked about, if you haven't looked at that video, we talked about, you got individuals that worked at the NFL level, so they know what NFL scouts are looking for in football players and how to develop those guys, and individuals that have been on college football championship or playoff teams, so they know what development looks like. So I feel really good about the development of this team based on what the staff is going to bring. So this is what happens when you run it with the twos, threes, and all of a sudden, or they put you with twos, threes, and then all of a sudden you have an opportunity to run in an entire half with the ones. He can show you what you could do. I can tell you.
The first time I got a chance to see. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, just talking about Hudson Card. They're talking about Hudson Card's speed. The first time I got a chance to see Hudson Card play high school football, I'm pretty sure he was a sophomore. It was him playing wide receiver. Garrett Wilson playing wide receiver, and Charlie Brewer was their quarterback there at Lake Travis. And yes, he's really, really fast kid. There's the speed in the backfield at the University of Texas at the quarterback position is one to be recognized. And again, speed more. That first play Casey took in the Alamo Bowl where he sidestepped the defender, got out of the pocket, and then just fired that ball on the run to, I think it was Cade Brewer, shows the talent level that he has. Again, speed isn't the thing I really need at quarterback, but I like guys who can get out of the pocket, throw on the run, and avoid getting sacked. And these two kids, I think, have that ability. I don't think you'll see them tapping the ball, especially with Sark as their quarterback coach. I think it'll allow them to get the ball out of their hands quickly. To those guys we were talking about earlier, like 6, 7, 4, 5 out of the backfield, won't tap, and then. But if they do, I think they have the ability to get out of the pocket and be more elusive than our previous quarterback, Sam Elliott.
I would love to say his name, Jesse. I agree with you on Henry there from Tennessee. Man, he would be a big transfer get. I know that he was recruited to Washington. Washington was down to his top 3 at that time. So obviously he has a relationship with the coaching staff at Washington. So it's a possibility. It sounded like some of these guys that were transferring from Tennessee decided to go back to Tennessee, or were having issues with the paperwork getting to be able to transfer to some of these schools. So we'll see how that works out. There were a couple of other things here that I was reading up here. Again, somebody was talking about the quarterback competition being 70-30. I don't think it's at this percent. I think it's right now it's 0, 0, 100, 100, however you want to look at it. I think both these guys are going to have an opportunity to learn Sark's offense and whoever is the best quarterback coming out of spring into summer, into fall, and who's prepared to play day one will be the guy that plays day one. So I think it's going to be a really, really good quarterback competition. It's going to be cool to follow something like that. We haven't followed one in like 4 years, so that'll be pretty cool.
Right. And it's going to be fired up. These guys are talking about Klubnik or Klubnik. Let me just say Klubnik. Shit, I'm having a hard time. Cade Ewers versus Malik. But yeah, guys talking about, hey, who should we go after? Again, Ewers is already committed to Ohio State. He wasn't in the fold at one point in time. Watched Malik Murphy's film, very impressive, sophomore film. But yeah, Cade and Malik are very impressive. Sorry I couldn't spit out your name, brother.
I think right now that my top 4 guys in this 2022 class, I'm gonna give them to you, right? And again, you're gonna get one of these top quarterbacks, whoever it may be. That's big. But you don't ever give up on Quinn Ewers. Don't just turn the phone off.
No.
You need to be in standing contact with Quinn Ewers. Number 2 is going to be obviously Denver Harris, man, out of North Shore, cornerback, top cornerback. I think second best cornerback in the nation. I think he's top 15 or top 10 in 247. And then you're looking at a guy like Campbell out of Arlington. Arlington Bowie, I believe. They're the Orange School down in Arlington, Arlington, Texas. Yep. And then number 4 would probably be Perkins, man, on that defensive line. Those are the top 4 guys, man, that I'm currently looking at. And if I had a shot, if I had a big board, those guys would be my big board, because you're filling really the needs of every position that you're probably going to need over the next couple of years. Because if you're looking at Jaden Blue as a running back who's currently a lean to Texas, that's like 5. Again, the sky's the limit for this team. But again, what these guys are going to want to see this year, are they're going to want to see what is Texas doing from an offensive and defensive side of the ball. Because again, just because a kid commits to a school, it doesn't mean they turn their telephone off, until they sign that letter of intent. They can get out of the letter of intent until they sign that letter of intent. It's still game on. But yeah, I think what we need to do is we need to get a top 25, top 10, top 15 guy into the fold to start selling the rest of these recruits, these 2020 recruits about coming to the University of Texas. We have really good recruiters on the staff. I think we need a 2022 commit that's a really, really good recruiter to in the fold right now. Klubnik.
I had to redeem myself for not being able to spit that out. But yeah. Let's see. And then Connor Weigman.
Yeah.
Out of the Houston area, Bridgeland. Yeah, there's plenty of good quarterbacks out there.
It is, man.
And that whole 2022 class, we talked about it very early on, when somebody, again, the Brockermeyers kind of sent us there to see what kind of offensive line depth there was in the 2022 class after they had gone to Alabama. And as we scroll down the top 100 in the state of Texas, in the defensive secondary, there's a ton of good kids, Denver Harris, of note, top 50 talent in the nation here in the state of Texas at, like Clint said, multiple positions to include quarterback. And the sky's the limit for these guys.
Yeah, I love this recruiting talk, man. It's nice to get back into recruiting. It felt like we were take a nosedive down for a while on this whole recruiting thing. And so we're talking, I think we re-offered Terrence Brooks yesterday, another cornerback. And I know Charles is telling us to look at his film and kind of compare him between him and Denver Harris. Hell, I take both of them. Let's get both of them.
Yeah.
It's Flood offered that guy out of New York yesterday. I think defensive end.
Tackle is what they listed. Tackle.
But I think long term they see him actually on the offensive side of the ball as a guard. But to go offer somebody in New York, when's the last time that Texas offered somebody in New York? And that's from his high school. So he thought that was really cool, man.
Coast to coast.
Reading it coast to coast, man. Which is cool, man. It's get these guys, these top guys in Texas, and then cherry pick from from out of state, man, the best guys.
Can I plug again? 124 folks in here,
Absolutely,
55
plug,
likes.
man.
Please hit that like button. Y'all know we don't do that very much during our shows, but like the guys on FP say, and there's an algorithm to this thing. The more likes we get, the more folks can find our coverage. Like I said, we're really trying hard to put more tape content out there. We kind of fell off for a couple of months. Again, our jobs are dictated by, we're both in healthcare. As you guys know, COVID kind of kicked our butt for a little bit. So I spent a lot of times on nights and weekends having to contact trace, but I've got a new job that I start next Monday. So I'm kind of finding my way out of that one. And so those responsibilities that I had with my previous job, we won't have. So maybe we can get a lot more tape content, which, like I said, we put out 2 videos yesterday. We have 2 in the shoot to include the 245 assessment of Coach PK's new defense and how we think the current roster at Texas kind of fits that at all 3 levels. And going to send that out very, very soon.
2 things real quick. John Davis, Sark had interesting comments about roster management in terms of numbers at each position. We'll be interested to see how that drives the 2021 class, finish and transfer in. John, I'm not sure if you've watched the reset of the 2021 class video we put out yesterday. Kind of talked to that roster management piece. I know that he was talking about how we had like 7 scholarship tight ends and like 15 scholarship wide receivers. He's like, that's 25% of the scholarship total that you have on the entire roster if you put those numbers together, which is, if you think about it, I haven't thought about that, but it's crazy. So obviously roster management is going to be a big piece with Sark, and I think you'll see that with transfers. I think you'll see that with the transfer portal and with grad transfers coming in, man. I think you'll see that. Henry Gatlin, I'm predicting Sark will have a top 3 recruiting class in 2022. Mark my words, hook them. It's definitely a possibility, but let's go back to 2018. We also had a top 3 class into which that's why we had the what they call it this year, one of the top 5
blue chip
ratios in the country. But the problem is when you're not developing these top three classes and putting these kids in the best place, in best place to be their best, you're in a situation we are right now. So yeah, I think definitely can get a top 5 class this year, 2022. Usually get a couple of notches when you have a new class or a new coaching staff to sell. And I think these guys are really, really good at what they do. So I definitely see definitely a top 5, top 3 class this year. But again, you're going to continue to compete with the school out east. Got to think about it. They just finished in the top 5 of the CFP, and they'll probably start somewhere, in the top 10 of next year's polls. And then right now, Oklahoma is probably going to start in probably the top 3 of next year's polls. So these guys aren't just going to hey, Texas got a new coaching staff. Let me stop calling these guys. So it's definitely going to be a battle. And I think it's going to be a 3-way battle between a lot of these players that are currently in the state of Texas in the top 25.
Yeah, I don't know what the plan is to decrease the number of wide receivers. Do you just kind of let it, because I don't think that you cannot take 1 or 2 every class, because then you find yourself very top heavy as far as classifications. But I don't know that you could pool scholarships either. Like, I don't know how that works.
And it's a shitty way to look at it, but it's hurt feelings. And you're going to create your own attrition by not being too deep, because again,
by not playing.
He's not going to rotate guys at the rate that they did last year, because they felt like they needed to it felt like it was going back to Soto Youth Football Association or Soccer Association, where you had to play somebody for a particular amount of minutes, so you didn't have hurt feelings. But I think it's gonna happen really through attrition. And that's, these are the guys that are going to work well in his offense, and these guys are going to play, and then these other ones are going to jump into transfer portal. And yeah, you're definitely going to have to take, the Armani Whittenfields. You're going to take the Evan Stewarts. You're going to try to take the Caleb Burtons. You're going to get these guys each and every year. You're not going to not take them. But I think what happens through attrition is they'll wind up in the transfer portal because they're not playing. Yeah, KD30. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Go ahead. No. It was personal. Henry asked me about the Wi-Fi, and I think it's probably a Sunday afternoon versus the evening thing. I don't know. I didn't threaten anybody.
Yeah, I see Jeremy's Wi-Fi is acting right. Black eyes. was going to go back up here. He's talking about Kenny35 is talking about Charles. Talking about Donovan Green told me he didn't commit to us. Always was a Texas fan, but Herman, the way you use tight ends more. Again, it comes down to how are you used. And if Donovan Green is one of the top tight ends in the country, and you're going out there and you're looking at, how Jimbo Fisher uses his tight ends at Texas A&M, using really a pro. His offense is really pro set, and he's using those guys. It's hard to tell someone that they shouldn't go there. Again, that's that whole negative recruiting thing. But, Sark comes out, and Wiley is one of the best tight ends in the nation this year. Epps comes out and one of the best tight ends in the nation. I promise you this: people will be looking and be like, "Oh, maybe let me rethink that what I thought before, and let's commit to the good guys." So,
and that's what I kind of thought. Like Donovan talking about the usage rate, but the previous administration probably didn't play their best playmaker. 18 and 19 were probably their best playmakers at that position, and they didn't utilize them near as much as they should have. So, and 19, I'm pretty sure that, they use him as a big slot, but I'm pretty sure 19 from Alabama didn't come off the field that much. I think his last name is Billingsley or something like that. But number 19 is the starting tight end for Alabama. And like I said, they use him in multiple sets. They'll use him as a wing. They'll use him as a big slot. They'll put him in traditional tight end sets. But they utilize him.
I appreciate that. S. Pal Man got a super chat, man. Keep it up, man. We appreciate it. Again, it's a really good place to be right now. I'm gonna tell you, it was a struggle for me because you came in with Texas with high hopes this last year. You really did with that blue chip ratio, with the season you were going to have, only playing 10 games, and you felt like you had more talent than the teams that you played, and unfortunately you didn't play to your potential, and it was just like a downward spiral for pretty much everybody, But I think right now the way that he put this staff together, and the way that we in the obviously the student athletes are coming back or still on the 40 acres, that talent is still there. You haven't lost a lot. So I think the sky's the limit for this team. Again, Jeremy said it earlier, this is a reload, not a rebuild. And I think that you probably have top 5 staff in the country, and you probably have one of the best, if not the best offensive coordinator, and one of the best defensive coordinators in the nation. That's a good place to be. That's a really good place to be. Seeing that your defensive coordinator didn't give up 35 points, but 7 times over 70 games. That's like right. once every 10 games, which is crazy to think of. I don't care what offenses you're playing. So
put Schooler on defense. When we first got him, me and Clint went back and forth where we thought he was better suited as a safety or as a defensive back and as a wide receiver. And of course, we know where he played last year was wide receiver. So yeah, looking at depth, now that you've lost Brown, now that you've lost Stearns, we've kind of going through the defensive back depth chart yesterday, and pretty much what did we come up with? I think Jerry Thompson, and don't remember who exactly we have. We don't have our notes in front of us as starting safeties, and then the 3 across the front as far as the corners. But yeah, from looking at it, I could definitely see where his experience in the Pac-12 as a safety could bring some. I think he'd be better utilized on the roster as a defensive back versus, like you said, chronicled earlier, there's 15 scholarship receivers, and you got Troy O'Meara coming back that could easily take his spot on the roster. Talking about size and playing in that position that school would traditionally play. But yeah, it's a thought. It would definitely be something I talked to him about.
I definitely agree. I definitely agree, because to me, it depends on what. Again, he came back. He wants to play for Texas. His upside may be wide receiver, but right now his position on the Texas roster is probably going to be at safety because of the numbers, just because of sheer numbers. Somebody asked a while ago, who do we think our starting quarterback and wide receiver at this particular point? as we get closer to spring ball and start talking spring ball, we'll probably come up with ones and twos leading into spring. And then once we come out of spring, leading into the summer, we'll probably give another ones and twos who we think are going to be the top 22 on both the defense and the offense of the ball. But someone asked us earlier, were we excited about PK's defense? Absolutely. And then somebody says, if you go back and look at what they did against Washington State, and I don't want to give too much of our next, because we do have some tape content that's going to be coming out talking about this 2-4-5, talking about they played three line front against Washington State. But if you go back and you look at Stanford, at one point he had 6 people on the line. He had 5 people on the line. He had three people down, 2 people standing up. At one point he had 2 people down in the 3-point stance and then 3 people standing up. It's very multiple. So you're not going to run. You're not going to run your defensive lineman off like you would if you're going to run a 3-4, because a lot of guys don't want to play in a 3-4 now because they want to have an opportunity to make plays. And me and Jeremy actually talked about this a little bit about about Alfred Collins, because he's an athletic guy. It'd be crazy to think that you're just going to have this guy in a 3 technique eating up blocks. When he's that athletic. So you'll see him probably float outside the 5. You'll probably see him float out as the actual defensive end at sometimes to be able to cover space and rush the passer. It's
give it too much. Give it too much.
Yeah.
But
go ahead, Jeremy.
But no, like you said, so Stanford runs a traditional 2 tight end, sometimes 3 tight end set. And so that makes sense that there'd be 6 guys around the line of scrimmage. Air raid. Like you said, they're going to pass the ball 70 to 80% of the time. So you're going to have 3 down linemen, and you're going to try to disguise blitzes and like you said, get pressure on the quarterback from different angles. But don't give our whole 35 minutes worth out there just yet.
Right.
It'll be out soon.
Where we at? In my opinion, I think Owens could be Shaq Thompson in this defense.
We talked a lot about
that. We talked a lot about, if you go back and look at it, just kind of give y'all some ideas. Really, if you look at that I went back and looked at that 2016 defense, because obviously that was probably his best defense when they went on to play Alabama in the Peach Bowl for the college football championship and limited them to, I think, 24 points. But I looked at that roster, and I kind of looked at our roster and versus their roster and what really the size of their defenders were on the defensive line. It obviously because they play a wheel, they play a Mike, and they play what's the last one there? 3 different linebackers, and they somewhat similar in size. And then obviously the cornerbacks, free safeties kind of look at their size as well. And Buda Baker, I think was on the roster at 5'10", I said, 170 pounds, playing in space for PK and his defense there, man. So really the sky's the limit with this defense, man. I'm kind of excited. So. Henry Gallon, our front 4 on D in my mind should be Bimage, Sweat, Coburn, and Collins. Unbeatable. He's kind of with you. The 2 down, those 2-3 techniques would be Sweat, and Coburn at 340 pounds.
Yeah. But I don't want to be 340, not in this defense. Like I said, I think we talk about it in that 2-4-5, but I think they're going to lose weight. I don't think they're going to come into the first game of next year 348 pounds apiece. They're asked to move too much in this defensive scheme. Like you said, they'll line up inside and outside. Absolutely. Because it's there to create mismatches. Just like, traditionally you're not going to have, just like we brought Osai from the back end to that rush in. You're going to see a whole lot of that as well. Yeah, but it's made to be multiple.
Talking about Sanders, Jeremy was a defensive end guy that's now changed to a tight end because his Sanders is going to be a beast, man. As a tight end, as a jumbo slot or however you want to do it. He's going to do great. He's going to do crazy things, wonderful things for the University of Texas at that tight end spot. Steve Go ahead, Jeremy.
No, I was definitely had him on the defensive side of the ball at the beginning of his senior year at Denton Ryan. By the time I saw him on Sports Center 3 or 4 times making one-handed catches over defensive backs. I changed my mind. I think if you want to start him out, you can start him out wherever you think you need more depth, similar to Deshaun Jameson coming in and playing wide receiver his freshman year and then moving to the corner. I'm going to shut this door real quick. But I think he's ultimately going to find himself on the offensive side of football.
Let me see here. Sark, what do you say here? Sark called kids who opted out quitters, so I don't see Bimage playing it. We'll see. I didn't see that quote from Sark. Maybe I missed it. Alabama don't have anybody that ever opts out because they make it to a college football championship, so they don't want to opt out.
Get that ring, buddy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they get a ring if they win a championship and they opt out and they're still on the roster.
I agree with Joshua Young here. Josh said no predictions, man. No predictions this year, man. Just play each and every game. Again, you get up on again. The difference is going to be if we get up on someone. I promise you this: you're going to continue to try to score each and every time you go out there. So I found myself turtling a while ago, man, trying to run some clock off against Texas Tech in a 2010 NCAA game, so they didn't score again. But I definitely understand it. But yeah, hey, if y'all haven't hit that like button, please hit that like button. I know Jeremy's got to run some errands today, but I wanted to make sure we got on here before college football or before the NFL playoff started today. We wanted to come in here and kind of just chit chat with y'all guys a little bit, talk a little bit. We did put out some content yesterday. We'll put out some content probably over the next few days. We'll be back here again Tuesday to do another live. But if you haven't hit that like button, there's 122 people in here. Please hit that like button. If you have not hit the subscribe button, please hit that subscribe button. We'd appreciate it. If you haven't told anybody about our channel, please tell people about our channel. We'd appreciate it. Again, we enjoy talking to y'all. Anything to say before we let them go on this beautiful Sunday afternoon, rainy Sunday afternoon?
Clint said errands. I got one errand to run. Let's go get a bunch of appetizers. I got some friends come over to watch at least the NFC Championship game. So yeah, just gonna go grab a meat and cheese tray. Saying my wife's gonna make these awesome little crab things that she makes with for our guests, and just enjoy football and hanging out.
Absolutely, man. Hey, again, hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. You can find us on Twitter at TX Football Talk, on Facebook at Texas Football Talk, and on Instagram at Texas Football Talk. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and have a wonderful week. We'll see you on Tuesday. Hook 'em.